Videos playing. Welcome into Couch Coaches, previewing Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens. I'm Charlie McGowan, and I have along Andrew Faircloth. Andrew, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good, Charlie.
This is an absolute, probably game of the playoffs I don't know. It's up there with the best game of the playoff, no doubt. We have two MVP candidates, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. This is just everything you want in a playoff game, and we get it in the divisional round. Andrew, any first initial thoughts on this one?
Charlie, this is going to be a very big game. Like you mentioned, the MVP candidates and Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and the weather. That's another thing. 12 degrees is the projected kickoff temperature. And these are two teams coming to this one with absolutely elite offenses. Like we mentioned, the two quarterbacks. These are two teams, second and third in points per game on the year. The top two teams in red zone offenses led by Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and then you got Josh Allen on the other side. And there's a lot of question marks coming into this game with Zay Flowers and how that's going to impact the Ravens. You saw that when they played against the Steelers, they can't they handled they went they I'm sorry, I'm speaking. Uh Without Zay Flowers, they still picked up the win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And yeah, sure. I'm just interested to see how the weather's going to affect these two offenses, and that's really just my first impressions on the game. So,
Yeah, like
what
you
you
said, the
thinking?
weather in Buffalo will definitely be a factor. Bills are 65 all time in Buffalo. In playoff games, it will be, what do you say, 12 degrees right at kickoff. It'll be frigid. It'll affect everything. Field goal kickers, even the fans. But when you think about it, when you think about when it's a cold game in the National Football League, what do teams usually resort back to? It's going to be the running game. And these are two teams with solid running game. James Cook and Derrick Henry are the featured backs um, in this matchup. But I mean, honestly, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson do a lot on the ground themselves. Lamar Jackson with about 900 ish yards rushing, and Josh Allen about 500. But still, Derrick Henry and James Cook, both great backs. I think this one is gonna come down to who has most success in the rushing attack. Ravens absolutely dominated the Bills earlier in this season. Definitely through the rushing game, over 250 yards rushing. Derrick Henry had a monster game. Um, yeah, I think it's definitely going to come down to Derrick Henry, James Cook, and how these offensive lines can get out and win the battle in the trenches, as these are both pretty solid, experienced defensive line that they'll be facing. But also, it's going to come down to the quarterback play. And like we mentioned earlier, this is two MVP candidates. It's almost come down to these two just in the MVP race. You can throw in Joe Burrow, you can throw in Saquon Barkley, but we really know it's probably gonna be one of these two candidates. You can almost say this could determine who wins the MVP based off of who wins this game. Andrew, on a side note, who do you think should win MVP?
I like Lamar Jackson. This is me. He's the first quarterback to ever throw for 4,000 passing yards and run for over 900 rushing yards. He has 41 touchdowns on the year with just only four interceptions.
That's a crazy.
Like, and there's a likelihood. I mean, he's led his team to a very successful season, 12-5, and with a chance to advance to the AFC Championship game, right,
Right?
Charlie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I like Lamar Jackson, but I think there's a very strong argument for Josh Allen. But I
Yeah.
personally
Both
say Lamar.
both of these teams are very efficient on both sides of the ball. But this game, it's kind of similar to last year how the Bills had a pretty solid regular season, and they got to host a divisional round against the Bengals, and then they lost against the Bengals. Joe Burrow came in and got that win. But what's very interesting about that game, the Bills only ran the ball 6 times in that game, and that's what led to their demise, and that's what eventually led them to losing. I think Sean McDermott, that's her coach, right? Sean McDermott will learn from his mistakes and definitely get the ball to James Cook and let Josh Allen do some work with his legs as well. But Andrew, what are some keys in this game that you think will determine the outcome?
Yeah, Charles, I think it's kind of how you mentioned who's going to run the ball more. And like we mentioned earlier, I think the weather's going to be a big part in it. 12 degrees at kickoff. And like we mentioned, two great rushing attacks. Something to highlight too, these are both teams, especially the Buffalo Bills, who take care of the ball and who control possession a lot. Buffalo, the best team in NFL turnover ratio, with only 8 turnovers on the year. And it'll be interesting to see how the weather affects how their offenses run and if they pass the ball a lot. Because I mean, Josh Allen, he's an excellent throwing quarterback,
Mm.
or if they stay on the ground. And it's the same story for the Baltimore Ravens, honestly. And see how much success Baltimore has on excuse me, has on the ground against the Bills. Like we mentioned earlier in the season, the Ravens beat Buffalo 35-10, I believe. Derrick Henry running for almost 200 yards. It'll be interesting to see how well Derrick Henry runs the ball and how much the Ravens run the ball with him in that type of weather. So, like we like you said, Charlie, probably the rushing game.
Yeah, this will also come down to just because how cold it is. It's going to be hard to convert on fourth downs. I think kickers have to come in at some point into this conversation. Justin Tucker, obviously having a down season for his Hall of Fame career, but he's definitely the better kicker in this one. Tyler Bass on the opposite side, I think, is having kind of a down year as well. Just not as talented as Justin Tucker for sure, but yeah, this team, these it's I really think it's going to be fun to watch these two quarterbacks play. Josh Allen just having a crazy good season, and what's stood out for him compared to other years is he hasn't turned the ball over just as much as he usually has. He's only had 6 interceptions on the year. He's usually well into the double digits, and he's holding on to the ball a lot as he carries the ball good amount, but he hasn't fumbled just as much. And both of these teams are just very efficient, like I mentioned earlier. This is just going to be which defense can contain that quarterback position on the opposing side, and it's just going to be a lot of fun to watch. And yeah, anything else from you, Andrew?
No, Charlie, are we ready to pick who we think's
Yeah,
gonna?
I'm about ready to pick. This is just such a fun game to preview, just because of how much offense is on both sides of the ball and how much just firepower. But yeah, let's get right into that picking. Andrew, give a in depth reasoning.
I'd like to start to say I like the Baltimore Ravens in this one. Honestly, I think they go into Buffalo and I think they win this divisional round. I think, like we meant, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but the Ravens are 6-3 on the road this year. They haven't been scared to win on the road, and I think this is the year the Ravens finally take that step and make it to the Super Bowl. Honestly, Lamar Jackson just having a stellar year, 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and I think Derrick Henry. I think he's going to play a big role in this one. I think this is his. He hasn't his entire career in the NFL. He hasn't had that chance to really show out on like the top in prime time moments. I don't think he's had that chance in his career, and I think he's going to take advantage of this opportunity. And I think he's going to have a big game. Like we mentioned, I think the weather's going to play a big factor in this one. The kickers are probably going to that'll be something to watch for. And like we said, Justin Tucker, Hall of Fame kicker, and very efficient offenses. Both good teams in the red zone. I like the Ravens a little bit more in this one. So yeah, give me Lamar and the Ravens, man.
Yeah, this is just a fun game, just in general. I could see it going both ways, and definitely a Ravens Lions would be a crazy Super Bowl for sure. But just because of the weather circumstances, and just because Josh Allen, he definitely has something to prove, as they have not won a playoff game in a minute at home at least. And I do have the Bills in this one, just because I think they get it done. I think they learn from their mistakes. I think their offensive line is good enough to get them the touches they need and get as much get as much productivity as you out of James Cook as you can, and Josh Allen will make stuff happen just because the MVP caliber quarterback that he is. I think the Bills get it done, and I think Bills Nation, Bills Mafia is gonna go home happy, and they're gonna probably meet. Who do you think they meet in the championship?
Gotta be the
AFC.
Chiefs, right?
I would
You think the
imagine
Texans? You think the Texans got in the? It's the Texans, right?
they're tied right now, as we're playing, as we're recording
Oh,
this. It's 3-3 in the first.
the Chiefs.
Hey, who
Mahomes ain't
knows?
going home
C.J.
this early.
Stroud has something to prove. I don't know how the Texans made it this far, honestly, but
Me
I do have the Bills in this one, and this is definitely one to watch. This is the only NFL breakdown we're gonna do for this week, just because of how monumental this game is. And yeah, anything else from you, Andrew?
No, Charlie. You got anything? Any last?
Nah, I'm just excited to watch this one break down. And with that, I think Josh Allen, after he gets this win, I think Josh Allen gets the MVP as well. But with all that being
Mm,
said, thank you so much for watching. This has been Couch Coaches. More to come.